All right, welcome to another reading of Lord Meher. And we are on page 2549 at the bottom. I can't see the year, but I think no, I'm not sure which year.
1946.
46. Okay. All right, we're going to start off with Eva is going to start the reading. Go ahead, please.
Baba woke up very early at 2 a.m. on Monday, 7 October 1946. They left Kusab on the 4 a.m. train and reached Lahore at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They rested at the Regent Hotel and continued their journey the next morning, reaching Bhatinda at midnight. Continuing on, they arrived in Bikaner at 8 p.m. on the 9th and stayed in a hotel opposite the railway station. The 14-hour journey from Bhatinda to Bikaner through the sandy desert in the slow-moving train was a true endurance test for the men. They had no water to freshen up with and only a little brackish water to drink at the occasional stations. Decent food was equally scarce. Baba was amused to see their weary and woe-begone expressions. On 10 October, Baba worked with 9 musts on various settled plains in Bikaner and remarked, some were slightly advanced and some not so much, but the work accomplished by working with all 9 is equal to contacting one good must who is advanced. Baba left Bikaner by the evening train and reached the small station of Narayanpura early the next morning. 4 miles away in the village of Mitri, Baba wished to contact an old saint, Lakshman Das. To get there over the sandy terrain, Baba permitted the Mandali to hire a camel, on which 2 of them at a time could ride. Baba himself rode for a short while, but found the camel ride uncomfortable and got off. Seeing that Baba preferred walking, the men could not bear to ride while he went on foot, but he directed them to stay on the camel, so they had no choice but to follow his wish. Lakshman Das had lived in a large temple for 50 years. He was 90 years old and had a fair, lustrous face. When Baba approached him, the old saint up. It was a touching and beautiful sight. The Mandali bowed to the saint from a distance, and the saint cordially extended his welcome to Baba, offering his hand to enter his room for private contact. The Mandali stayed back as ordered, and Baba and the saint sat inside the room alone. The contact was good, and they returned to Narayanpura station in the afternoon and boarded the evening train for Bharatpur. They arrived on the morning of the 12th, but then learned that Pir Fazal Shah, the saint they had come to see, had left for Kota. Baba decided to leave the luggage at the station, and they boarded the train for Kota, where they arrived at 8:40 that night. They immediately went to the saint's abode. Pir Fazal, a Salik of high caliber, was said to be 117 years old. Nevertheless, he was remarkably strong-looking. He received Baba and his men with great fervor and brought a chair for Baba to be seated. He began muttering as if to conceal the excitement an emotion he felt at being in Meher Baba's presence. After a while, Baba and the saint moved and sat alone in the adjoining room. Fazal Shah began crying and with profound feeling told Baba, "No one until you came has touched my heart so deeply as you have. You are the first to pierce my heart with the arrow of divine love." Fazal Shah further proclaimed, "You have the power to destroy and flood the world. No one fully knows the limits of your greatness. You are the spiritual authority of all time. If I were to die, I would take another body just to be near you." Fazal said, then pleaded with Baba to write him as soon as he returned home, and commanded a disciple to write down his address on a slip of paper, which he handed to Baba. Baba and the Mandali left Kota the same night and reached Mathura early in the morning on Sunday, 13 October, 1946. They had 2 hours of sleep on the station platform and then left by Kunj. They hired a taxi there.
Hey, wait a minute. Meher Karen is not muted. Meher Karen, mute, please.
Okay. Okay, I'll start here again.
Yeah.
Baba and the Mandali left Kota the same night and reached Mathura early in the morning on Sunday, 13 October 1946. They had 2 hours of sleep on the station platform and then left by train for Kashgunj. They hired a taxi from there to drive 19 miles to Etah. Baba contacted 2 musts, one of whom was known as Nanga Baba. He was a naked must who was quite indifferent to normal food, but was fond of chewing pan. It was difficult to find him because he roamed about so much throughout the area. But he was eventually contacted, which made Baba happy. The other must in Etah, Shah Saheb, had been hit by a car. The must had refused to let his leg wound be treated, and now it was infected with maggots. When Baba contacted him, the must had wrapped the wound with a filthy piece of cloth as a bandage. He sat on a simple string bed, and the Muslim who looked after him rigged up a partition curtain of sheets so that Baba was able to contact him in private. Returning to Kashgunj at night, Baba, Kaka, Adi Sr., Erich, Pendu, and Baidu tried to get some sleep on the station platform. But because there was too much noise, they left for Mathura on the 2 a.m. train. Later that morning of the 14th, they reached Mathura and stayed at a dak bungalow. That afternoon, Pendu and Adi were sent out to look for boys, but failed to find any. Baidu, Erich, and Kaka went with Baba to contact musks. Baba communed with Inayatullah, the great musk saint of the 6th plane and the chargeman of the area, whom he had contacted twice before. Baba also communed with Brahmananji, whom he had worked with 11 months before. Brahmananji was a 5th plane must living on the banks of the Juma River near Dharmashala. Near Dharmashala. The 35-year-old must had once been a learned pundit, a Vedic scholar, leading a fashionable life, but he was overcome by God and renounced his worldly position. And next reader.
Yeah. Can you tell me from where? Eva? You're muted.
Top of the page.
Thank you. He was now staying in a broken down stable near the river, sitting amidst filth. This time, when Brahmananji saw Baba, something extraordinary occurred. He cried out in ecstasy, "Look! Behold how devoted love attracts Lord Krishna to me. The perfect master has come. The perfect master has come." As if to support him his calm, sorry, as if to support his claim, he reached under his seat and pulled out a book from a gunny sack. The Perfect Master, written by Charles Purdom. How he had obtained it remains an enigma. The book was as clean as if it had just been newly bought. Brahmanji opened the book to Meher Baba's photograph and showed it to those present. The Mandali were amazed to see the immaculately kept book in such a dirty abode. Leaving Brahmananji, Baidul next went to set up appointment with Azim Khan. The Math said, "Your prayers have been accepted. My elder brother wants to see you," Baidul said. "No," the Master replied. "He is my father. He should not come. How could I invite him here?" At 8 the next morning, Baba went with Baidul to Azim Khan. As soon as the Mas saw him, he sang out to him, "You are Allah. You have brought forth the creation. Once in 1,000 years, you come down to see the play of what you have created." Baba just looked at him and smiled, and the contact was over. Baba's glance was sufficient to complete his work. Although Baba had a cold and was feeling feverish and weak, he expressed his wish to watch a cricket match, but for some reason the scheduled match wasn't played. After a final contact in Bharatpur, Baba returned to Niranjanpur on 18th October with Kaka Adi Senior returned to Ahmednagar, Pendu and Baidul to Mehrabad, and Erich to Pune. Mm. Before leaving, Baba instructed Erich to look for bungalows in Mahabaleshwar. Baidul returned to Niranjpur with the Mast Ali Shah on Sunday, 2nd November 1946, and Baba worked with him for the next 3 days. On the 5th, Ali Shah was sent back to Ahmednagar with Baidul, and Kaka was sent to Bombay. The same day, Baba gave rupees 50 each to 7 poor, formerly middle class people. One of them was an old Muslim who burst into tears of gratitude, giving thanks to God as if he had been rescued from long suffering. On the 7th, Baba bathed and fed 7 mad persons. Neelu was sent to Bombay at this time, and he returned on the 27th. On Sunday, 24th November 1946, Baba dictated instructions to 9 close disciples to find either a must or a saint from various areas of India. Marvin, could you read next, please? Thank you.
The 9 men were Baba Das, And next to his name, it says Orissa, Bihar, or Bengal. I guess these are the places where they were at. Baidul, Gujarat. Kakabaria, Bombay. Kak Saheb, Hyderabad. Pandoba, Farsi, Sholapur, Bijapur, or Pandaharpur. Propel Pleader, Papa Jesawala, Pune. Popal Pleader, Nagpur. Sadashi Patil, Satara or Kolhapur. Vibhuti, Miraj or Hubil. Specifically, these 9 men were informed of the 5 select points by Baba. You will be rendering me the most important service by doing the following. 1. Find one real Hindu or Mohammedan saint, be he a wali or saint, conscious of his body or unconscious of it, an advanced salik or a must majub, to stay with me for 40 days from the 15th of December. He should be a really advanced soul, not a mere madman. He must be more than 30 years of age. The older, the better. 2, he should not be told about me as Meher Baba. 3, the people who serve him must be told that he will be well looked after during these 40 days, and if absolutely necessary, one of the adherents can accompany him. 4, he should be brought to Meherabad on December 12th, not before or after. 5, the necessary expenses you will incur to be asked from by Adikaya Rani Ahmednagar. During this period, Keki Nalavala felt deep love for Baba, but his wife Frani had no special feeling for him. She had not yet had Baba's darshan, nor was she particularly eager for it. Despite this, Keki invited Baba to his home in Dehradun for lunch. Baba played with their 5-year-old daughter, Marok, who picked up their infant son, Nashawan, just 2 months old then, taking him on his lap, caressing and kissing him. Footnote: Nashawan Nalavala later founded a periodical devoted to Meher Baba called The Glow. Frani observed Baba with her son, and at once faith was lit in her heart, and has burned brightly from then on. Thereafter, the whole family became dedicated to Baba and worked in his cause. Occasionally, Baba would call Keki Nalavala, Keki Desai, and another man named Bujor Sorabji, Chacha, to Naranjanpur. Bujor, like Nalavala, was working for the Singer Sewing Machine Company in Dehradun. Although in 1942 he had stayed with the Nalavalas and found out about Baba through them, this was his first opportunity for darshan. On one occasion, when Bujor came to Naranjanpur, Baba remarked to him that he reminded him of his deceased brother, Jamshed, whom he resembled. Jean Adriel had finished writing her book, Avatar, and it was sent for publication in November 1946. Jean and Alexander Markey had established a center called the New Life Foundation for Meher Baba's work at La Crescenta, California. One day, Jean received word from Baba that he wished them to relocate to a place farther from the city, somewhere 1 or 2 hours from a big city. They decided to take a drive in the afternoon and look for property. They invited a woman who had come to stay at the center to come along. Her name was Agnes Barron. Agnes, 39, was not interested in Meher Baba because she had been disillusioned by another spiritual teacher. She had been directed to the New Life Center as a quiet place where she could do some writing and had subsequently rented a cottage there. Jean had given her the manuscript of Avatar, and though she was put off by Jean's writing style, she was drawn to the descriptions of Baba and asked Jean, "Is he for real?" Having nothing else in particular to do, Agnes went with them. Another lady who was also staying on the property had a little girl whom she wanted to put in a private school at Ojai, 75 miles away. So they drove there. While returning, they noticed a property on top of a mountain with a lot of trees and greenery on it. Let's go up there and see it, they said. Maybe it's a Baba place. They drove up the mountain and came to a big wooden gate. Baba's going to send 6 of the Mandali to live with us, said Jean. We'll need a lot of buildings if we move. Agnes was sure there were more buildings on the property, so she jumped over the gate to investigate. There were several other buildings and a brand new house with beautifully landscaped grounds, an orchard, vineyards, and rose garden. The property was being looked after by a local farmer who was not there. They located his wife, who told them that the property belonged to Gertrude Rouse McConaty, the wealthy heiress of a chain of grocery stores called Ralph's. She was thinking of selling the land, but would surely ask a high price for it. Jean, Marky, and Agnes returned to Hollywood, where Jean said, There's no point in calling. We won't be able to afford it. But at Agnes's insistence, they phoned. The woman said that though she had planned to retire there, she and her husband were now divorcing, and the property was to be sold. Go and talk with my business manager, she told them. So the next day, Jean and Marky went. They reasoned that if they sold the New Life Center's 500 acres, they would be able to afford this property, which was only 160 acres. This is what they did. The property was bought for Meher Baba's cause and christened MEHER Mount. Soon afterwards, however, Marky and Jean had some disagreement, and he moved back to New York. We do have a footnote here. Jean, Adriel, and Malcolm Schloss had separated by this time. Jean asked Agnes to move to Ojai with her, and though still not committed to Meher Baba, Agnes agreed. Swami Yogananda, who lived in the area, visited the property in November 1946 and spent a few hours there. Footnote: Yogananda was one of the first Indian yogis to establish centers in America and wrote a best-selling book, Autobiography of a Yogi. He remarked, This place is a dream oriental paradise. One does not even have to focus to hear the Om sound here. Meher Baba's lovers in California, New York, and also Myrtle Beach were eagerly awaiting the time when the soundless sound himself would visit their centers in America, as he had hinted he would be doing in the near future. Erich had rented the Aga Khan's bungalow in Mahabaleshwar, and on Saturday, 30th November 1946, after staying in the place of seclusion for more than 7 months, Baba left Naranjanpur by train and the men and women Mandali, with the men and women Mandali. An additional member of their party was a Scottish Terrier puppy, which Baba had acquired in Naranjanpur for the women and had named Cracker, as in firecracker. That evening, they arrived in Delhi, where Baba and the 10 women went to Keki Desai's home for dinner before resuming their journey to Mahabaleshwar. The men stayed at the station and had dinner there. Since there were about 100 pieces of luggage, Sarosha's truck was waiting for them at Manmad Junction. They were driven straight to Mahabaleshwar, where they arrived on the evening of 2 December. The Aga Khan's palace, Florence Hall, was very large with a spacious compound and horse stable. It was suitable for Baba's purpose because he wished to establish a must ashram in Mahabaleshwar. That was the main reason why he had directed the 9 workers to bring musk from throughout India. Erich met Baba and the Mandali in Mahabaleshwar when they arrived, and work began on turning the stables into a tavern. It was cleaned, and partitioned with bamboo matting into 40 cells, and Vishnu bought soap, plates,
Can't hear you, Marvin.
Okay,
um,
Marvin, we can't hear you. Can you read from here again? From 40 cells?
oh, yes, I think I see why. I'll read the paragraph again. I lost the screen.
Eva, can you screen share? Thank you.
That
We
was me.
can't
I
hear
was
you.
trying to mute myself and I hit the wrong button. I'll go back. Sorry.
All right. I'll pause. Okay, we're back to recording.
It's not the right page number, darling. You'll have to.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I think we started from 255. Yeah, go a few
Here,
pages
this is
down.
it.
Okay.
Just go scroll down. It should be 40 something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
this
just,
one.
I think right after the picture. Yeah. That was the end of the page. So next page.
No, you haven't finished that. Scroll up, please. Scroll up. Go down before the picture. Yeah.
Okay. I
Just
see.
read after 40 cells and Vishnu. Yeah, from there.
The Aga Khan's palace, Florence Hall, was very large with a spacious compound and horse stable. It was suitable for Baba's purpose because he wished to establish a must ashram in Mahabaleshwar. That was the reason why he had directed the 9 workers to bring musk from throughout India. Arich met Baba and the Mandali in Mahabaleshwar when they arrived, and work began on turning the stables into a tavern. It was cleaned and partitioned with bamboo matting into 40 cells, and Vishnu bought soap, plate, mugs, kafnis, and vessels for Baba's work with the musts. Baba arranged everything for the must ashram and also for the women's stay.
All right. Thanks, Marvin. Just
Okay.
talk about the picture. Let's go back to the picture, please. There's a picture of Baba and Mehra um,
And I
and
think that's
Cracker.
Cracker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at Florence Hall, Mahabaleshwar. It's a beautiful picture. Yeah, let's go to the next page. And Tim, would you like to read from here? Thanks.
He's muted.
No, there we
Okay,
go.
sorry about that. Okay. Meetings and darshans. On Sunday, 7 December 1946, Padri drove Baba in Saroj's car from Mahabaleshwar to Meherabad to inspect things there and to see his musts. They arrived at 2:30 p.m. via Pune. Baba's Ahmednagar lovers, such as Kaka Chinchokar, the Sata family, Rustam Kaka, Baharit, and others came to see him at Meherabad that day. While discussing matters with them, Baba remarked prophetically, there will be revolution all over India, including Ahmednagar. The face of the country will change as the time of my manifestation is nearing. Baba stayed at Meherabad for 5 days, working with Mohammed Must and Ali Shah. Jal Karawala came to see him on the 11th for 2 days, and Baba left for Mahabaleshwar on the 13th, giving instructions to each of the Mandali. 20th of December, everything in the Must ashram was ready, but the 9 disciples had not been able to secure musk from around the country in time. So, to complete his work, Baba had musk from the neighboring districts brought to Mahabaleshwar. Along with them, a few mad and a few very old, needy middle-class men were brought. Thus, the Mahabaleshwar ashram was divided into three sections: for the musts, the mad, and the poor, with each section having 6 members. Baba worked with these men for the next 40 days. The daily schedule was at 6 a.m. The inmates would be served tea. Baba's work began at 8 a.m., when for an hour he would bathe some, give a haircut and shave to others, change them into clean clothes, and so forth. He would then sit alone in a separate room with one of the musts. During this time, the Mandali had to see that absolute silence was maintained as far as possible. At 11 a.m., Baba would personally serve lunch to the inmates, sitting on a low stool as he ladled out portions onto their plates. Ali Shah was called for the first 3 days and would always be fed separately an hour earlier. At 2 p.m., tea was served, and from 5 to 6 p.m., dinner. Don had always been profoundly impressed by Baba's work with the musts, the way Baba selflessly kept himself occupied day and night, traveling under most difficult conditions, at times without food and water, hunting for these great souls. After his return from England in the fall of 1946, Don began thinking, in the history of past advents of the avatars, never has such work been recorded. It is something quite new for both the people of the East and the West. What Baba is doing in this age is unprecedented and unparalleled. If any of the past avatars had done such work, history has not recorded it. Footnote. On one occasion, Baba mentioned that Ram, while in exile for 14 years, did much work with musts in the jungles. Such God-intoxicated persons as musts always exist on Earth, especially in the East, and during avataric advents, they are contacted by him. One day in Naranjapur, Don voiced these thoughts to Baba. Your work with the musts is so important, fascinating, and significant, yet there is no record of it. If an account were complete and written down, it would be most useful and interesting to future generations. Baba conveyed that he would think about it. 2 days later, he came to the gardener's hut where Don, Nilu, and Vishnu were resting. Baba remarked to Don, your suggestion about a book on musts is excellent. Why don't you write it? Don had not expected this. Me? I'm no writer. I've never written a book. I'm not fit to write it. But Baba assured him, you are the only proper person to write it. I will help you. Thus, Don was encouraged, and the book, The Wayfarers, was born. Baba began giving him explanations, detailing the various types of musts and explaining about them in general. Don wrote studiously and with devoted labor and attention to detail, collaborating with those who went on the must tours with Baba. Years later, Don related about the book. So I did it, The Wayfarers, my aim being only to try to make a faithful record of Baba's work with musts and others. His external and visible work, that is. His real inner work, he would just not tell us about. But then why should he? Footnote. Typed note from from Donkin to Bow, 1969. As Age noted, Baba's must work forms a singularly important part of his work in this Advent. By contacting musts, Baba has shown the world that the Lord of the universe is also the slave of his true lovers, whom he allows to share in his work. And the statements of these intoxicated witnesses to his glory recorded in The Wayfarers are testaments to the reality of Meher Baba's avatarhood. In Mahabaleshwar, Baidul was the manager of the Must Ashram during the first 2 weeks of its functioning, and thereafter Kaka and Papa Jesawala managed it together. Once, when Baidul was managing matters, an amusing confrontation took place between Kaka and him. Kaka brought a must one day and, without asking Baidul's permission, took a gunny sack to make the must comfortable. Nick. This small incident immediately gave rise to a heated quarrel between Kaka and Baidul. Overhearing them argue, Baba called them, and in the presence of the other men, asked Baidul what the ruckus was about. I am the manager of the Must Ashram, and Kaka, without asking me, took a sack, Baidul replied. Baba gestured to Kaka. Why did you do this? It was lying unused, Kaka said. Baidul interrupted. It was not lying about. Kaka stole it for his must. He is very careful with his musts, but not with mine. That is because your musts are not musts, but mad persons, Kaka taunted. Your musts are mad, shouted Baidul. You think after all these years I cannot tell the difference between a must and a madman? What do you take me for? What do I take you for? You too are mad. There was an intense argument between them, and Baba encouraged both by slyly winking at Baidul, indicating that he was right and Kaka was wrong, and then winking at Kaka that he was right and Baidul was wrong. But the funniest part was that during this verbal battle, Baidul's dentures kept falling out. He would put them back into his mouth and continue vilifying Kaka. Baba was highly amused by the scene, and when both began debating about which plane each one's musts were on, Baba could hardly contain himself. My musts are all on the 5th and 6th planes, Baidul shouted. You have brought only insane wallas. Is that so? Kaka hotly replied. My musts are of the 6th and 7th plane, but how can an uneducated jungli Irani like yourself recognize their worth? Baba was laughing and asked, but how do you two know which plane your musts are on? Both kept quiet, and Baba observed dryly, it is a matter of great honor and privilege for me that both you Sadgurus are staying with me, as only a Sadguru can know which plane a must is on. This ended Kaka and Baidul's argument, at least for that day. Baba really enjoyed their battles of wits, especially when Baidul's dentures would fall out and he would quickly plop them back in so as not to lose the edge. The following men were among the genuine musts brought to the Mahabaleshwar ashram between December 1946 and January 1947. Don Dibua, a 5th plane childlike Jamali must from Y.
Thank you, Tim. Rosalie, can you take it from here? Rosalie, please unmute yourself and could you read from the top of the page? Thank you.
Shah Sahib of Panchgani, a man who was struck by divine madness and only partly must. Nevertheless, he appeared to feel deeply the importance of Baba and reflected it in his attitude. Vasudev Swami Avale, with whom Baba had worked before, was a tiny old yogi who had been crippled doing certain occult or yogic practices. Kabir, the wild, subtle, conscious must, who lived in the Hindu cremation grounds of Kurduwadi near Pandapur. His roar of laughter sounded like the cry of some wild beast. He was a forbidding character. Baba had worked with him 7 years before at Meherabad. Juma of Baramati, 25 years old, was a must from birth and was also a Jamali. He was silent most of the time, utterly lost in his divine intoxication. Don described him in the Wayfarers as utterly lost in his divine intoxication. Palwan of Aminagar in his mid-20s, a god-mad young man, very good-natured, with an exceptionally muscular physique. This explains his name, which means wrestler. Ali Shah was also brought back to the ashram in January 1947 for 10 days of intense work. He was the purest of the Jamali types, and Baba had done and was still to do an exceptional amount of spiritual work through him. Adi Sr. was to have brought Muhammad Must on 5th January, but ended up taking him only as far as Pune. Baba Das was keeping watch over Muhammad, but the Must somehow escaped in the night, and Adi then came to Mahabaleshwar alone. Adi's niece, Nagu, was visiting, and the next day, Adi escorted her back to Bombay, where she was studying. Dr. Ghani arrived on the 16th. Baba had written to him to come prepared to stay for good. One day in January, Erich was sent to the village of Bor to bring Borwala Baba to the ashram. As usual, Erich told the thin, elderly Muslim Must that he wanted to take him to see his elder brother. But the Must, who was not fooled, corrected him. You are not taking me to your elder brother, but to Meher Baba. Borwala Baba declared, Meher Baba has in him the whole universe. He is the master of everyone, and he is within every disciple. He is this world, that which is above it, and that which is below it. He is in me and in everyone. He is the saint of saints. He is Tajuddin Baba. In one glance, he sees the whole continent of India. As soon as Erich and the Must arrived in the ashram, Erich told Baba that Borwala Baba had said. Because Baba, for his own reasons, never liked to work with the Must who recognized him, he decided not to meet Borwala and gave instructions that he be taken back to Bor the following morning. On Sunday, 19th January 1947, Baba directed Kaka and Erich, bring 40 poor persons who are weak or disabled, who have 3 or 4 children each, and who go without food frequently and are simply unable to pull on. As a final touch to his work, Baba instructed that they be brought to the bungalow in 4 days. Erich and Kaka went from village to village, selecting and gathering such persons. On the 23rd, Baba contacted each person alone, privately washing their feet and laying his head on their feet, and gave each 15 rupees and 3 sweet ladus. Baba later explained to the Mandali, this is by no means a gift or charity. My contacting them and giving them prasad is so that these persons may enter the spiritual path in the next birth, and in this life rise in spirituality. Finishing his work with the Must, the mad and the disabled, Baba disbanded the Mahabaleshwar Must ashram on 28 January 1947, and sent almost every must or madman back. Only Shah Sahib was kept in Mahabaleshwar as he was reluctant to go. Adi Sr. came to Mahabaleshwar that day. He had brought Sarosha's sister-in-law, Suna, and her daughters, Frani, to Panchgani, and he then drove Baba to see them. Frani's marriage with Baba's brother, Adi Jr., was discussed. On 1st February, Adi Sr. drove Baba back to Panchgani, where he met MEHER and his family at the Bristol Hotel and gave them prasad. After the strenuous musk work, and before he began an extended seclusion, Baba wished for a change and so ordered Papa Jesawala to arrange accommodations for them in Mahad, a small nearby resort on the Savitri River. Baba took Mera, Mani, and some of the other women there for a few days. Papa had rented the dock bungalow, and one day he prepared mutton pulao for Baba and the women, who enjoyed the delicious dish compared to their usual plain rice and dal. When they returned to Mahabaleshwar, Sarosh arrived from Ahmednagar and saw Baba on the 5th of February. In Mahabaleshwar, 2 days later, on the 7th, Baba retired into seclusion in a hut known as Haman Khana Cottage in the compound of the Aga Khan's palace. Baba remained in seclusion for 16 days. Throughout this seclusion, Baba did not sleep at his usual time, but gave Dr. Ghani the duty of reading the poetry of Hafiz to him during those hours. Ghani would start reading Hafiz's ghazals in the late evening and stop at 4 a.m., when Baba would sleep until 6 o'clock. He only ate one meal a day. During the last week of his seclusion, Baba fasted on fruit juice. Meher Baba loved the poetry of Hafiz, for, like no other, he said, it reveals the secrets of the spiritual path. Hafiz did not actually write poetry, but recited his inspirations or sang them. Baba was familiar with the following well-known ghazals, which Hafiz recited the very night he became God realized. Praise be to God, what wealth I possess tonight. For suddenly my beloved came to me tonight. When I saw the loved face, I made obeisance. By the grace of God, I am blissfully happy tonight. My ceaseless longing has achieved this union. I am reaping the reward of that longing tonight. My slumbering fortune has awakened at last. The most auspicious night of my life is tonight. My blood will write, Anal Haq, I am the truth on the earth, even if I am crucified like Mansur. You, the beloved, possess divine wealth, and I am the needy one. Give me the alms of your glory and make me blissful tonight. Hafiz has lost himself in this ecstasy which he possesses tonight. This is the other poem Hafiz recited after he was made realized by his master, Attar. Last night before dawn, I was given relief from all suffering. I was given the water of everlasting life. I drank from the divine goblet, and I was overpowered by the glory of divinity. What a supremely fortunate dawn it was. And what an auspicious night, the night of Qadr, when I was given the authority of Godhood. Footnote, the night of Qadr power is the night that the Quran was first revealed to Muhammad. In Islam today, the festival of the night of Qadr is an occasion for vigil and prayer. I'd rather read those footnotes at the end of this. As I swooned away with awe and wonder at the sight of the loved face, the true meaning of it, I'm not sure if this is a word, I-A-T. Well, I better read the footnotes. The true meaning of ayat and manat was revealed to me. Okay, footnote. Ayat and manat were pagan idols in Mecca that the Arab and Hebrew tribes worshipped before Muhammad was recognized as the prophet sent from God and established Islam, the religion of the one God. If my longing is fulfilled, then I am in bliss. What wonder? For I received what I deserved. Henceforth, I see myself reflected in the mirror of the beloved, for in it I see my real self.
Okay, I think it's time to stop the reading here.
And at 1947, we're in January, I think, February.
Unless we want to finish, looks like the poem
Yeah.
continues.
Let's read that, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, you got to bring it back. I don't see it, I just see you, Marvin. Okay. Wait a minute. Okay. All this sweet music which pours forth from my pen is the reward of my patience, and my quill has become a rod of sugar. Gabriel, the archangel, gave me the best of news. I was relieved from the tyranny of material existence. What a wondrous miracle it is to be the slave of the master. I became the dust of his feet, and he raised me to the highest. The master raised me to the state of eternity. He verily gave me eternal life. The moment I fell into the snare of the tresses of the beloved, the master said, You are relieved from all misery. It was by the grace of my Master, the good wishes of my fellow disciples, that I was given eternal release. Rejoice, rejoice, and again rejoice, for Hafiz has realized the divine beloved. Jai Baba.
Okay. Thank you, Rosalie. All right. Well, oh, let me stop the recording.